It looks like it might finally be time to harvest some carrots. This variety is called Danvers 126 and they're expected to get 6 to 8 inches long. This was my first time growing carrots and I think I have some growing a little too close together, but overall I'm happy with the harvest. I harvested half of them on this day and will harvest more later, but I plan to leave some in the ground to hopefully make seeds next year. I came across a recipe recently for carrot greens pesto. By themselves, these carrot greens have a mild, unsweet carrot taste, and also sort of tastes like kale in my opinion. I think that since the carrot greens contain less oil than basil leaves, the carrot pesto ended up being a little drier in consistency. I probably would have corrected this by just adding a little extra olive oil, but it didn't bother me too much. I was surprised to like carrot greens pesto so much. It's extremely similar to basil pesto, just has a milder taste. I would almost say that I prefer carrot pesto over basil pesto, but I did miss the wonderful smell that basil has. Now that it's the beginning of a new year, I'm in garden planning mode. We've had an unseasonably warm couple weeks, so the first thing I wanted to do was take some soil samples. The dirt was still pretty wet, so I let it air dry for a couple days before mailing it to save a little on shipping costs. I should get the results back in a week or two. This year, one of my goals is to be a little more organized with gardening overall. So I'll be working to put together my first attempt at a garden journal. There's a lot I want to track in this garden journal, but the first section will be a weekly, monthly planner. This is where I can track important dates for planting and schedule garden tasks for myself. To make it simple, I cut out the pages from a store-bought planner to insert into the garden journal. My plan didn't work perfectly though. The margins on this planner are pretty small, and the whole placement was a little unfortunate on some pages. But otherwise, this will work for this year. The next section in my garden journal will be a seed starting log. In past years, I never wrote down anything about the seeds I started, not even the date I planted them, and I've always regretted not doing that. I want to be much more organized this year. The next section will be printouts of garden layouts. I plan to create a map for every garden bed and update it each season. Next will be a tracker for any fertilizer applications I do throughout the year. In the past, I've been forgetful about when I've done soil amendments. I think this next log will be the most interesting thing to track, but also possibly the most tedious. I want to track every edible thing I harvest from the garden by weight for the entire year. One of my sisters did this for her garden for multiple years, and it was super interesting to estimate the dollar value generated from the garden. I also want to do this for multiple years since it would be a great way to track how productive the garden actually is year after year. The last section of my garden journal was inspired by some books about gardening that I've been reading recently. Often books will include fact sheets for each plant and a summary of how to best grow them. Over time, I want to make a page in this garden journal for each plant I try to grow. It will just include a picture, my notes about growing that plant, and details like what would be on the back of a seed packet. I like to think that this will be useful information to have all in one place. Now that the garden journal is all set up, I'm looking forward to starting seeds in the upcoming weeks.